Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing a video that's somewhat overdue. It's a video that I've been wanting to do for a while and I finally made some time to do it. And it's basically my PCS tips and tricks or do and don'ts. For those that know, we actually PCS from Washington State to Hawaii. And when my husband received orders, he was actually in Virginia at Fort Lee doing his captain career course. So we technically did a PCS from two different locations. He did somewhat a partial move from Virginia, and we did the full accompanied move from the state of Washington. And this video is going to be a little lengthy, but I'm sure it's going to be very, very informative for all my spouses, military couples, military families, just anyone that's curious to know how it all goes down. So stay tuned and don't mind me. I'm going to try to keep things somewhat in an order, but if I don't, please forgive me. And sometimes I get a little carried away, but forgive me, and we'll try to stay on track here. So for those that are wondering what's in the cup, it's my favorite time of year when they have our seasonal drinks. And this is a caramel brulee latte with 2 extra shots and 1 less pump. So it's really coffee-like, still very flavorful, but just not sugar and milk, you know? Your girl likes coffee, all right? Well, I took the liberty to make some notes. I hope you folks enjoy this video. And we're gonna start off with, from the moment that my husband received his orders. So, luckily for us, we received our orders in a timely manner. I know some people receive their orders like a month before they have to ship out. I don't know how you do it. It's definitely a lot to consider in such a little period of time. But for us, we did have some time, you know, to plan and get things in order from the moment that we received his orders. So the first thing that I actually did when we received my husband's orders was notify everyone who needed to know that we were leaving. So for example, my job, I was active duty for the Washington Army National Guard, and I let them know that, hey, you know, at the end of the fiscal year, I will not be able to stay on board, that I will be PCSing to Hawaii. We also let my daughter's school know that we're leaving so they can get everything that we need to transfer them here to Hawaii. And I also went ahead and let all of our doctors know that we're leaving. So the children's doctors, our dental office, I made sure to schedule all of their vaccines. I made sure to schedule their physical to make sure that all of that is up to date coming here, you know, from Washington to Hawaii. And then of course I requested records for everything. So I actually, prior to us PCSing, I had created a binder, and this is basically our family binder that has all our stuff in here. So birth certificate, social security cards, we have our orders in here, we have our immunization shot records for the kids, family care plan, just pretty much everything that you could possibly think of that is important, my tax documents, all that good stuff that could somewhat get lost in a move. I put it in the binder, so this binder I know will travel with me, and I try to keep all of our important documents all together. Okay, and that was pretty much the first thing that we did. Then the next thing was getting ready for our move. Okay, so getting ready for our move, I basically decluttered. First and foremost, I decluttered a lot. Moving from Washington to Hawaii, and Hawaii having much smaller homes, I was very concerned whether or not we would have enough space for everything that we had. So we started to sell things and buy things. And the reason why I say buy things is because Hawaii also does not have all the cool stores that we have in Washington, like At Home or Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's, what else is there? IKEA. All of those places we do not have here in Hawaii. So if you love that stuff and you need something from there, you have to buy it before you actually move. And it's not a bad idea to buy it before you move, because your shipping with the military is pretty much all covered. I honestly don't know anyone that has exceeded their weight to ship their household goods. So there's definitely room in that container for a thing or two that you want to bring over. Another thing that you have to consider is that being overseas to Hawaii, we actually don't, sorry guys, that was my phone. But being overseas in Hawaii, we actually don't ship or receive shipment from a lot of places. So there's especially furniture, like big bulky stuff, good luck trying to get that here. Most places will not ship to Hawaii. So all that big stuff you definitely want to consider purchasing prior to moving, okay? And I also started to organize like the kids' room and my personal things and Ayana's things and things in the kitchen. What I found most helpful was buying those big Ziploc bags, and everything like miscellaneous things or things that were too small to somewhat box, I combined it all in a bag and I labeled it in a Ziploc bag and I labeled it. So I knew exactly where those things were. Because of course, when you have 5 movers and packers in your home and they're just randomly packing things however they see fit, there is a huge chance that you'll misplace something and you might not be able to find it until you unbox everything, which of course turns out to be the one thing that you absolutely need, right? So to prevent things like that, I definitely suggest getting those big old Ziploc bags and doing yourself a favor and organizing whatever little things you need to organize, put it wherever you want to put it, and have it labeled. The more you label, the more you declutter, the more you stay organized, the better and easier your life will be. So that's definitely a huge tip. Another thing to consider when moving overseas or OCONUS is definitely planning your shipment of your vehicle if you have more than one vehicle. And the reason why I say this is that the military will ship 1 vehicle per service member. So for families that have 2 vehicles or more than 2, keep in mind that you either have to sell your vehicles or you are responsible to pay for the shipping cost of that additional vehicle. When we did our shipping, I actually shipped with Matson, and it was $1,500 that we had to pay out of pocket from Washington to Hawaii. So, definitely something to keep in mind. And another thing that we also figured out was, what are we going to do when we get to Washington? Where are we going to stay? It's very expensive to stay in a hotel. It's very expensive to rent. And of course, it's also expensive to buy a home. We eventually bought a home. So that was super amazing for us. Hawaii is one of those great places where real estate is a huge investment and very profitable. The appreciation rate for Hawaii is much higher than a lot of places. So for example, military that's doing a 3-year tour, there's a huge chance that you'll get a profit at the end of your 3 years, simply based on the type of market or real estate market that Hawaii has. It's very unique in that aspect. So we did eventually buy a house. However, when we first got on island, we did stay in the hotel. So those of you, when you receive your orders, I highly recommend that you speak or that you request your sponsor to send you the TLA information. TLA is actually the temporary lodging allowance. So we actually received a list of hotels as well as TLA rates for the island of Oahu. And on here, it specifically states no online hotel receipts will be accepted, and that you basically have to call the hotel to make these arrangements. But the perk of it is that, one, your hotel stay gets paid for, as well as you get an allowance for meals. So for example, our family married with 4 children, one of them being, married with 2 children, one of them being over 12 years old. We actually received a maximum TLA of $521. So basically, of that $521, $283 was put towards lodging expense, and the other $238 was for our food allowance. This is a daily allowance. It sounds like it's a lot of money, but in Hawaii, it's really not a lot of money. If you stay in a hotel that has a full kitchen, 50% of your meal allowance will be reduced. So you'll only get paid 50% of your meal allowance, simply because you're able to cook for yourself. So you don't need that big of an allowance, which is mainly used for people to eat out. Okay, and I don't know exactly what or how many days you're able to be on TLA. I know that it did change a couple of times while we were on TLA or receiving that TLA option. All in all, we were on TLA for 2 months. I don't know if that's the maximum or if it has changed, but of course that is something at the time of your move you want to find out. A lot of the times, if you're house hunting and you're trying to buy a home and you're working with a realtor, they are able to extend your TLA period. So you can stay in the hotel longer, you can continue to receive your lodging and meal expense allowance, and basically continue to look for your home. Okay, so on that same packet of the TLA rates for Oahu, there was a list of hotels that basically are TLA approved hotels. So these hotels are familiar with the TLA process, they accept TLA, and on here it has their contact information, the location. It also tells you whether or not there is a kitchen, yes or no. It tells you if pets are allowed, yes or no. And then of course, if there's free parking, if there's a resort fee, a lot of information on this sheet. So definitely, if you have not received one and you are PCSing to Hawaii, you definitely want to request one or find someone that can get you the most up-to-date TLA rate sheet. Okay, and so now let's move on to our movers. So when the movers came to the home, they basically just did a quick walkthrough. It literally was like 5 to 10 minutes just to kind of get eyes on how much things I guess we have to ship, how many rooms, how big, how many people they might need, and so forth. Then they let us know that, okay, we're gonna do 2 days of packing, and I think they did 1 day of loading. 2 days of packing and 2 days of loading initially was what was requested, but they end up doing 2 days of packing and 1 day of loading. We did have 2 full truck loads of things. So I don't know if it was 20 or 40 footers, but it was definitely 2 full truckloads. Prior to the movers actually coming to pack our things up, what I did do is packed up all the things that we will need when we get to Hawaii. So things that I wanted to travel with. So that was clothes for me and the kids, of course my PCS binder, toys for Carter, anything that I could think of that we needed, hygiene stuff. I also packed some kitchen things like bowls and cups and forks and things like that, just so we wouldn't have to buy more when we got here. I just felt like it was unnecessary to buy. I do know that there is like a rental program that the military has where you can rent those types of things. I didn't want to go through that process or hassle, so we just pretty much packed up a suitcase of like household stuff, like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, some blankets, towels. I also brought over a bunch of cleaning supplies. That was important because I know at that time when we were PCSing, there was a shortage of like Lysol and disinfectant wipes and things like that. So we went ahead and kind of packed up our suitcases with that. I actually, when I found out what airlines we were flying on Alaska, by the way. So when I found out what airlines we were flying on, I actually researched the military baggage allowance. And for Alaska Airlines with orders, we could carry on 5 suitcases each. So that's technically a total of 15 suitcases that we could have carried on, and each having an allowance weight of 70 pounds, which is a lot. We did load up all of our suitcases that we have, and in addition to that, I did buy some like tough boxes, which tough boxes that allowed me to secure them with the lock, and we use that as well. If you go onto the website of the airlines that you folks will be traveling with, you will actually see that there is a measurement allowance as well, so width and height and so forth. And as long as you get your box, your plastic bins or tough boxes, whatever it is that you want, if you get it within the correct dimension, then you can take that with you. That counts as a bag, you know, a suitcase, a luggage, whatever you want to call it. So I had a total of 11. It was craziness. And what we did is all the stuff that we were taking with us on the plane, we stacked it nicely in a corner in a living room, and then everything else that the movers had to pack and load was far away from the things that we were gonna carry with us. I also had like blow up mattresses because we did stay, I think, a day or two in our house after the movers already took everything. And so we did have a blow up mattress and of course comforter to sustain us for that time before we actually got on the plane. And when we actually left our home in Washington, what I did do is load up the Durango. We checked into a hotel, which is also something that the military will compensate you for, is hotel coverage before you actually fly out. So we checked into a hotel near the airport. We unloaded all of our suitcases, had the bellman help us, carry everything up to our room. And then the next day I dropped off the Durango for shipment. And luckily I have family out there in Washington. My cousin was able to pick me up from the shipping area or the Tacoma port and take me back to the hotel. And from the hotel, the next morning we used the free shuttle service to basically transport us from the hotel to the airport. And at the airport there was also a baggage service that loaded all your luggage into like a cart and took it for you to check in. So I also utilized that service as well. There was a cost for it. I think it was like $10 or $20, but I used it because it was just me and the girls. And like I said, we had 11 checked bags and boxes and whatever, just stuff. Plus we also had our personal carry-on things like our backpacks and our carry-on suitcase and the stroller. So our hands were really tied up. We didn't really have any way to carry all of that stuff in one trip. We would have needed to make multiple trips, and of course you risk the possibility of someone walking off with your suitcases if you're not watching it, or I would have needed to leave my girls there while I ran there and so forth. So to avoid all of that, we just used the baggage service that the airport provided, which is super cool. So check out your airport, see what it is that they have to offer. Another cool airport service that SeaTac offered was delivery of your luggage. So you could pay to have your suitcases and luggage delivered. And we also did utilize that service when we first flew into Washington. We could not fit everything in a car, and we didn't have the Durango then, we just had the car. And basically we utilized that service. It was really convenient, really easy. We literally got off the plane, was able to go straight home, and an hour or two later they were knocking on our door delivering our luggage. So cool service, check that out, see what options you have. And of course, if you have friends, ask them for help. The military community is very, very close-knit. People know that there are times when you have no one. I was supposed to have my mom fly out and help me with the shipping and everything, and flying with the girls to Hawaii because my husband was already here. But things happened and COVID hit, and she basically could not fly. Her job would not allow her to take leave, so I was left to do everything on my own. And it happens, but there's a way to do things, and you just gotta do a little bit of research, see what services are available in the area where you're at with the airports. So I know that was a lot of information. I'm gonna stop here. But if you have any questions or you want me to give more details about anything, whether in Washington or Hawaii and our PCS move here and so forth, please feel free to leave a comment. I will definitely answer your questions. And if I could elaborate on anything more, please let me know. I really tried to keep it as short as possible. So I hope this is more informative than boring for you. Thank you guys for watching my video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And stay tuned. We'll definitely be sharing more and more content with you. And let me know if there's anything that you want us to talk about. Bye.